Gruesome Magazine.
Hello, once again. I am your host, Doc Rotten, and this is Gruesome Magazine, where we review the very latest in theatrical and streaming horror movies. Each week, the Gruesome Magazine Grue-Crew, in this case, me, we'll take a look at very spooky, scary, and gory genre offerings. Tonight, I'm reviewing Imaginary, the latest from Blumhouse. It's out in theaters beginning March 8th, 2024. Okay, so I'm going to set myself up for a big, huge embarrassment because I'm just going to say straight out of the gate, I like this movie. Now, I am a Blumhouse fan, and if you've watched the show, you know I get kidded for that. So take that with a grain of salt. But I kind of enjoyed this. But before I get more into what I'm going to say about it, this is going to be a spoiler-free review, and I will kind of give you my points and stuff about it, and then we'll wrap things up with my score, my favorite scene, and then it's up to you to kind of let me know what you think. But of course, if you enjoy these reviews, please hit the like, subscribe, share with a friend buttons. Each click helps us find more horror fans like you, and just like the horror fans listed down below from our Patreon, so check that out as well. All right, let's dig into the movie itself. What is it all about? The synopsis is kind of thin. A woman returns to a childhood home to discover that the imaginary friend she left behind is very real and unhappy she abandoned him. There's a lot more to it, and I'll get to that here in just a second. The movie is directed by Jeff Wadlow. It's written by Jeff Wadlow along with Greg Erb and Jason Oremland. The cast includes DeWanda Wise as Jessica, the lead, Taegen Burns Taylor as the young teenage stepdaughter, Pyper Braun as Alice, the young stepdaughter, Betty Buckley as Gloria, the creepy neighbor, Tom Payne as Max, that's the husband, father of the two girls, and Veronica Falcone as Dr. Soto, the psychiatrist that comes to tell everything about everything. Samuel Salary as Ben, Jessica's father, and Matthew Sato as Liam, the neighbor who, well, he's useless. All right, here we go. Let's get into this movie. It's okay. Is it a good film? No, not really. It's uneven at best, but it's very entertaining. It helps that the two main characters, Jessica and Alice, our lead and the young daughter, that she's now trying to warm up to and all together, right? So it's trying to become a family. It's a little rough. They play on those tropes about this kind of family a little too harsh, a little too hard, and a little too much. But it's only for the first part of the film, and then once it gets into the nest of it, those start sliding away. But at first, it's a little aggravating. However, these two characters are very similar in a lot of ways, and they share a very common trait from their youth. Of course, Alice's youth is very recent, and Jessica was back when she was 5, living in the house that they are living in now, many years ago. So that relationship gives the audience a lot to hold on to, and I enjoyed it, and I enjoyed that, and I enjoyed the bear. Enjoyed the whole imaginary friend thing, and the more it grew and the more that we learned about Chauncey the bear and how its relationship with Alice is and how the relationship previously with Jessica was. It's okay. Two things going for it. I think this is very much a solid gateway horror film for young viewers. I think a lot of young viewers will enjoy this. It's set up to almost be that, kind of like Megan was, but Megan is far more successful at it than this film is. So that makes this one less a winner like Megan was. I really enjoyed Megan, and more of a guilty pleasure. And that's where I'm going to solidly put this in my guilty pleasure bucket, because I think I'm going to catch a lot of grief for liking this movie. I think I really am. But let's talk about Betty Buckley as well. So Betty Buckley, if you may remember that name, you may remember that she was in Carrie in 1976, or Eight is Enough TV show. She's here as the grumpy, kooky neighbor that knows a little too much. And basically, one of the unfortunate things about this is that she handles all the exposition. She is the exposition master. She has all the exposition dumps. And she goes on and on and on. And she shows up once, says a little bit, shows up again, says a little more, and then at the end she just has a whole bunch. Now, besides that, she gives this character this kooky, offbeat behavior and a little bit of cantankerous grumpiness to her that she milks for all it's worth. She really, when she's not doing the exposition and she actually gets to participate in the film, she's a lot of fun. She's a hoot. And I wish they would use more of her like that than with exposition, but I guess, somebody's got to give the exposition, and she does a fine enough job. It was just unfortunate that the character had to take that hit. One of the things that I think I would complain about is that there's, like many PG-13 movies, at least lately, not all of them, but many of them, that they rely too much on jump scares. And this one is jump scare city. It's basically that, until maybe the final act where it gets really weird, in a good way, for me, in a good way. Some people might not like it, but I like it. So it doesn't really build the tension up well enough to really get you kind of like, white knuckled. And this film could have. It had the right makeup. It needed a little bit. Chauncey itself, the bear, needed to be a little more quirky. It's a little too much just like a bear. Kind of like, Megan's another good example. Annabelle's a good example of making them just a little quirky, Chucky, of course, that, something's up. And it didn't quite reach that level. And matter of fact, there's a number of scares in this film that are so subtly implanted in the movie that I saw all my audience miss them. There's scenes in there where things are kind of happening, maybe in the background, and everybody totally missed it. Nobody caught it. Nobody was saying anything. Nobody's reacting to it. And I even questioned, like, was that really there? But it was there because it kept coming. Some of the setup doesn't quite work, but at the same time, once they get into it and we reveal what's happening with Chauncey the Bear and how it relates to our two main characters and what it's trying to achieve, and then the poltergeist moment, if you've seen the movie, you know what I mean. It adds up and works. And when we see the small spoilers, the other version of Chauncey, or other versions of Chauncey, I really like those, and I really appreciate that they stuck to practical effects for the most part. Not all of them, but for the most part, practical effects. And they're a lot of fun and very much appreciated. Really appreciate the effort. They may not always work 100%, but I don't know. Big bears, big feet, I'm good. So in the end, sadly, to my reputation, I like the movie. It won't be in my top 10. It's definitely not going to be in the bottom 10. It may squeak in as an honorable mention, maybe. For me, it's an enjoyable film that is mostly missed potential for being a really good film. This could have been another Megan or another character like Annabelle or Chucky, but it falls a little short. But at the same time, I had a great time in the theater, really enjoyed it. I was expecting it to be a complete and absolute dud. So my expectations were low, even though this was a Blumhouse film, and I am a Blumhouse fan. I wasn't expecting it to get much entertainment out of it. I wanted to see it and share my thoughts with you, but I ended up enjoying it. I had a good time. My score, let's get down to the nitty gritty. My score is 3.25. Almost went with 3.5, but I'm going to go with 3.25. And my favorite scene, anytime you have psychological drama in your film, a psychiatrist will show up to give you some insight into what's going on. And this happens here as well. Oh boy. And this time they're sitting down with Alice, and Alice brings Chauncey the bear in, and the psychiatrist encourages her to tell more about Chauncey, and even go ahead and talk to Chauncey. She wants to see it, and she does. And we get to hear both Alice's voice, Alice's voice, and Chauncey's voice, as well as provided by Alice. And the way they set up this shot with her filming it, and you see it through kind of the camera's eyes, and the restricted view of what that camera is capturing, it's really fascinating on what we get to see, and the reveal. And our little actress, Pyper Braun, did a fantastic job delivering that scene and many others that she was asked to do. She is quite good in this movie, the young girl. But anyway, and then after that, the scene actually keeps going with the psychiatrist, and much more is revealed. And what I liked about the scene is, one, it gave us a really good, probably the most chilling element of the entire film. Everything else was either jump scares or just really high fantasy craziness that goes on at the end. But this was one that really got into the scares that were potential in this film, with the psychological elements of it, and what could be happening behind the scenes. Another element of that scene that I liked, and the scene that follows, is that it ties our stories together. It ties Alice's story, the young girl, and Jessica, the new mom, and how they and becomes focused. The movie becomes much more focused after that, and now we're on a singular path with two characters looking in the same way, and any of the family conflicts are kind of washed away slowly as this particular scene comes about, and that helps things immensely. Immensely. So anyway, so that's my favorite scene, and that is my review for Imaginary. Oh, leave your comments below. Tear me a new one if I should not be liking this, or if you did like it even better. Let me know what you thought down below. Oh my goodness. As always, I appreciate you guys showing up. Check out our other podcasts. We have Decades of Horror, 1980s, 1970s, and then we do the classic era, which is from the 1920s to the 60s. A lot of fun stuff if you like retro. And of course, here on Gruesome, we do the news stuff all the time. And we also have H&R with news. So check them out. Check out